Hey beautiful people, welcome to the Cilia Lee Show. I'm your host Cilia. Today we have two guests here. One of them over there, you see her all the time.
Hi.
And we have Clare, and then the new guest here. Sorry, what's his name?
Yeah, my name's Dexter. I'm a personal trainer for like 20 years. We're talking about dating today, that's why I'm here. I used to do a bit of coaching before, and I've helped a lot of like my clients when we're having conversations. I'm like good advice giver, so I thought I'd come in today and see what it's about.
Yeah, I love that you said that you mentioned that you're coaching, so we're definitely going to touch on that. So relationship to coaching.
I did, yeah. Comes with a lot of steam though, because it holds you accountable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you know, Claire's here because every time when we're together, people love our energy together, and we always talk about men, dating, relationship, and that. So I just thought it was only right for us for you to come on. Mm-hmm. The reason why I also asked you to come on because we've been following each other on Instagram. Of
course.
Today is actually the first time we met.
Yep.
And you've been commenting on the stuff that I put up.
That's right.
Tell me what you think of them.
Yeah, so I saw some of them. So it's a lot about female empowerment.
Yeah.
Cool. So I saw some about, about goddess and things like that.
Yeah.
But I like, some of it was just very practical. Mm-hmm. I was trying to get more of a gist of it. It's kind of why I'm here as well, so I get to know more about you.
Yeah.
But I got the impression that you was more preaching about, you could tell me if I'm wrong, preaching about femininity.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad I got my message out there, right?
Yeah. Because I'm really on Instagram. For me, I just use it to post and I'm off.
Yeah.
But now and again, you come through things and then you just like it or whatever, you pay attention. But I'm not one of them that was on it all the time.
Yeah.
So when I saw what you did, I was like, it's refreshing because social media is going the opposite way.
Like
So-
how? What do you mean?
It's becoming more masculine for femininity and opposite for men. And that's kind of how I see it. And it's like it's at an all-time low, dating in general. So that's why I started my coaching.
I'm so sorry to cut you.
Go on.
Can we, because you said
I'm
so many
speeding, yeah?
things. Yeah, so many things at once.
Go
So
on.
can we just like focus on this idea of like men being emasculated in social media and women being kind of made
course.
to be more masculine?
Yeah. There's many examples, but I just feel like, like we live in a world where obviously the world has changed. Like if you think back to like many years ago, for example, you look at the dynamics, everything has changed. We've had feminism, we've had all these different things. So obviously people have gained their independence. But what we do live in, we live in a society which is civilized, which means we don't live in a generation where we need anybody.
Right.
I feel we do.
Yeah.
But if we're talking generally, we don't feel like I'm independent, I can do this by myself, blah, blah, blah. So it's a case when it comes to dating, it's a fact that most people feel like I want someone, but I don't need someone. Whereas back in the day, they needed someone. Can you imagine the difference in your approach just based on that alone?
Yeah, because they always say like, you don't need nobody, like.
We actually do.
Yeah.
We're actually very dependent on each other.
Yes.
But society is telling us otherwise.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to, when you said that what I do is very refreshing, because you said now the social media is very masculine. Are you referring to the stuff that women post in general or men posting?
In regards to that
Yeah.
one, I would say women.
Okay.
But yeah, I see it both
What did
sides.
they say?
Well, the thing is,
do you see?
or actions.
Yeah.
So I might see things like, either there's two things. Either they're becoming more masculine in certain ways, if you want to call it that, and becoming less respect for themselves. One of the two. So you've got situations where we see people, OnlyFans is at an all-time high.
Yes.
All these things. I'll get onto men as well. Don't worry. But the main thing is like you see a lot of everything's at an all-time low. The morality is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
Now, from the masculine point of view, like I was saying, everyone's a boss chick, everyone's a boss this and that. And it's cool to run a business. I respect entrepreneurship on both levels, on both fronts. But it gets a little bit out of hand. Every time anyone's in a victim mindset, it always ends up radical. So what I mean by that is, okay, so you could have, let's think of anything, racism. So you have the victim, and then once the general population gets an idea of how racism is, all of a sudden, we start to get a little bit of strength because they're starting to understand. Now we take that strength and we go full pelt with it. Now we think we're owed everything.
Right.
It happens in every situation, whether it's feminism, they fought for their rights. Now you get to a certain situation where you have feminists like, listen, we run this. And it's like,
You
whoa,
can't call
calm
me
down.
female.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's politically incorrect.
Oh, is it now?
Those are the sorts of things.
Oh, right, yeah.
Feminists would say.
You can't say nothing now. You can't even fight in peace. You know what I mean? So that everything everybody's feels disrespected by anything, and you're gonna get that. You could see that in the comment section. It doesn't matter what you say. You know what I mean? You can even big up someone and they'll find something in that. So I just feel like the point I was making. I feel like in regards to women, there's a lot of things that you just see that are, and when I'm talking about women, I'm more talking about in dating. It's not so much about their life and everything like that, but the relationship dynamics and what men are also looking for as well. So we feel, as men, we also feel like it's anything masculine is toxic, if that makes sense. So that's what we're getting a lot of as well.
So explain what you mean by, like, in what ways it's toxic. For example, like,
many people would find Kevin Samuels toxic.
Okay. Now let's go to Kevin Samuels.
You like that segue, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think of Kevin Samuels?
Right, before I answer that question, and if there's guys listening, this is not me being a simp. Any person that's out there, I never agree with them 100%.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
I bet a lot of women are going to be triggered right now, but continue.
But for the most part, I agree with everything that I've seen.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. If you can tell me something that he's said, we can talk about that.
Even I'm triggered.
Yeah.
But only because I feel that what Kevin Samuels does, very similar to Andrew Tate, is just says a lot of generically blanket statements that wouldn't necessarily apply to everyone, but
is most of them sound
enough to.
Sorry to cut you.
Are enough to generate like controversy. Does that make sense? And even going back to what you were saying about like masculinity in social media, I feel like everybody wants to be a content creator.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone wants to have some
lockdown did that as well.
Control over their own revenue, whatever that might be. But just as you said earlier, not everyone can be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants it. The thought of being an entrepreneur stresses them out, and that's okay.
Yes.
We've got to also preach that not being an entrepreneur is okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So going back to Samuels.
Yeah, so going to Kevin Samuels and Andrew Tate, what do you agree with them? I'm going to ask you. Wait, let me ask Claire. Is there anything that you agree with what they say?
There's a lot of what they say that I agree with. I think that Kevin Samuels, what I don't like about Kevin Samuels more than anything is his delivery. Right? So there was one time where he was on an IG live and he was talking to this woman and she was like, oh, my man's been cheating on me and I don't understand why. And then he just went, out of 10, what would you rate yourself? And she was like, I'll rate myself at 8. And he was like, well, boy, are you fat? And then she didn't even know how to answer it. She fully didn't know how to answer it. So for me, it's the delivery. I think that straight talking men is something that we lack. Okay, because as soon as men talk nowadays in society, people want to jump down their throat and attack them and tell them you're not being feminist and you're being anti this and you're being
anti. And you think he falls into that?
I think that he falls into it without meaning to, just because of his delivery. But then that's what I'm saying. I feel that maybe Kevin Samuels intended to deliver it in such a way.
You know what I think it is?
To get the scoop, you know?
I think how women talk to women and how men talk to men is different. So with men, we tell it how it is. Like, bruv, you stink of BO. We're saying there's no filter.
And then girls like with sugarcoating.
Exactly. So when he's talking to women, he's just talking to how he would talk to the guys, because he used to talk to guys. Don't get it twisted. He used to talk to guys the same back in the day. Because that's when I followed him early, from like, when I say early, maybe like 2018 something. He used to do fragrances, so he pivoted. But the thing is when he's talking to women, he reminds me of like my uncles, my dad, my granddad. They're serious people.
Yes,
they're not
older generation.
They're not goofy. They don't smile. Like, I'm not used to that. So when I think of him, he just reminds me of one of my uncles. That's what I'm used to. So
in that sense, true masculine. So that kind of the man who doesn't necessarily show his emotions, isn't very expressive.
He can be, but is it in a way that a woman would interpret it?
Right.
But
that's the
what
thing.
I'm saying is, what do you agree and disagree with what they said?
Okay, so I agree with a lot of Kevin Samuels' kind of like traditional attitudes about how we should be approaching relationships. So that the man should be leading, you know, he should be providing, etc. I agree with a lot of that. I also agree with the concept of accountability in a relationship, which I think a lot of people don't agree with, and that's why a lot of people don't like Kevin Samuels. So I believe that if you're in a relationship with someone and you have to ask your man, babe, do I look fat in this? Then you maybe have a weight issue, and maybe that's something that before your man turns around to you and goes, well, you don't exactly look thin, babe. You should already basically accept that as a reality.
We're not going to give you the answers that your friends will.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? So when people say men are from Mars or Venus, whichever way it's said, there's truth in that.
Okay.
Because and that's where we have the disconnect. The moment we understand that we are different in those kind of ways, the easier it is for us to understand. Because if someone said to me, and I've done it, they said to me, do I look fat? I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? There's no if or no,
Tough
depending on what it is.
No,
I tell it straight. Even before she asks me, I'm going to say, you know what, them jeans there are getting a bit too tight still. You know what I mean? So.
But what I don't agree with is the delivery.
Okay.
You know? But maybe, you can
as men,
comment
that's how
more
we
on
chat.
That. Yeah,
but I can
maybe
understand.
It's more about the masculinity.
And there's other guys that have said the same thing. Because when I was doing, I don't have the Instagram number. When I used to do Instagram, I used to do my little clips. I used to say certain things, and then my lady friends or whoever I know would comment me, DM me, even phone me and say, boy, I don't like what you said, tear.
For example, like what?
Okay, so I said how a man should lead.
Right.
And
how should the man lead? How did you say?
Well, no, I said to them, women, as much as women tell you, what women says and what women does tends to be two different things. And I'll come to that as well. Because women lead by their emotions of how a man makes them feel. Yeah. So, and there's two things, either how they feel, and that's basically their primary attraction. There's two levels to attraction, I feel, primary, secondary. So a woman logically knows, if you ask the average woman what kind of man, what do you want in a man, she'll give you a relatively cool answer. But ask her about her track record. Is it those guys? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the difference is. So you want to check out their CV. So that's kind of the difference. But I think with going off point a bit, you're asking me about Kevin Samuels.
Yeah. And Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
About the same, really.
I think their delivery, for me, because I'm a guy, I interpret it as, that's fine. I'm watching it more as an audience thinking, that shit, I'm just being real, that shit is funny. But for the people that are there, I get it, but you know what you're phoning up for. Now, the reason why I like Kevin Samuels, because it's a different type of show. It's not necessarily a dating show. It's women trying to get high-value men. Yeah. And they think that shit comes easy. Yeah. And it's not the case. So he's trying to tell women how delusional even the thought of trying to get one of those kind of guys are. That's the difference. And then what they don't realize that these guys are a minute amount, because they take the 3 6s, they say 6 figures, 6 feet and 6 pack and all this kind of thing. Each one of them, if you took them by themselves, is under 10%. So by the time you even narrow it down, it's a joke thing. So that's why he's like, you know what? Just find that average. Most of us are average, and there's nothing wrong with that. Average just sounds bad, and I'll get to submissive, because that also sounds bad, but it's not really as bad as it is. But average is what most people are, probably 80% of the population. Find someone in your group, and but everyone's trying to chase, and then now they're left stranded in their 30s and 40s thinking now they want to humble themselves. And then we're like, nah, because you was dealing with these guys. Don't come, I'm not here like some side man waiting for you. No. So that's the way he's trying to say, listen, while you're in your prime, while you're in your 20s and everything like that, start to think about, settling down and the type of guy that you should be with. Now, I come from a family, as I said, where the men are men, like I would say Kevin Samuels, Tate, and the women are feminine. And when I say feminine, I'm not talking about conditionally feminine. There's two types of feminine, feminine and on a condition. So on the condition that you're masculine and you know how to be one, I'll be feminine. That's not femininity to me. That's just you trying to work the game. Feminine is feminine regardless. So what would that mean is if a man is not stepping up to the plate, she will just walk away. That's the difference.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know if you saw, if you watched my previous episode about the masculine man and the feminine, but basically like, so for women, I agree. So wrong. By the way, I do agree with certain things that, like you, that were with what Kevin Samuel says and Andrew Tate says. But it's the delivery is a bit harsh, the thing. But I do agree that the man should be leading, and the woman, I submit. I think the woman should submit to the man, and also like you said, it's okay for them if like the boss bitch thing, this mindset is okay to a certain extent, as in like you can have your business, be the
keep
CEO.
That work. Don't bring it into the home.
Be a CEO of a company, all of that, right? But then when you come home, or even whether you have a man or not, that's when you lean back and just drop back into your feminine. There you go. And if you have a man at home, then let him be the man and take care of you, And the other day I was listening to this podcast called, I can't remember what it's called, the Dead Ass Podcast. Okay. I don't know if I sent it to you, but anyway, basically it's this husband and wife. they spoke about how about the masculine man and the feminine. Anyway, now they spoke about how the background. Well, the husband, he became a stay-at-home husband for a little while because he was trying to build his business.
Right.
Whereas she as the wife went to work. So in a way, for some men, it'd be like, what? I'm at home not working. That some man would be insecure, but he wasn't. But he asked the question was basically like, how come you trusted me and how did you feel? Did you feel like I was less of a man? And she was like, no, because although I was working, you was at home, but you looked after kids for me. You cooked and everything. But when I came home, I just went back into my feminine and you like rubbed my feet, you did this and this, that for me. So I felt like a woman, you were just at the being the man at home.
Yeah.
So there's different ways, but like I said, basically, yeah, you can be the boss bitch at work, just like I said, leave it there. When you come home, be back into your feminine, just lean back.
I think that's hard for a lot of people. You think of like being a personal trainer. Yeah. Sometimes we take that home, even whether it's man or woman.
Yeah.
Because even, obviously, I'm a trainer, you're bossy, you tend to boss people around. So sometimes I have to catch myself, do you know what I mean? Because you're not used to be spoken to anyway. So, but I think, people do take their work on any side. I think that's fair to say. But I think in some cases, in a lot of cases, I can only speak from a heterosexual standpoint, is I've met women that they get a bit too uppity because of what they're doing. And then it's like...
I like the way you express yourself, Nick. I really do.
I try, you know. But then, they just try, and sometimes they just try and bring that to me, and I'm just not with it. And I'm very short like that. See, when it comes to, when people say, I was in a toxic relationship, it takes two people to be toxic. Yeah. That's first and foremost. Because once I see a little bit of toxic, I'm gone. You know what I mean? So I don't wait for the second and third red flag. I wait for the first and I'm out. You know what I mean?
I think that's important. So we talk about masculinity and femininity. I think it's important to also know as an individual what the balance is within you. Because I think once you've got it balanced and you're at that place of peace, you won't entertain nonsense.
That's what I'm saying.
So as soon as you see it, you'll be like, whoa.
I'll give you two examples of two exes. So, and this is not a swipe at them, hope they're blessed. I remember there was, I was going out with one girl, and anytime I'd have a problem, I'd say, listen, I'm not really feeling this, you know. It would blow up into an argument. And it would go on for days. Like, I'm one of these people, I can't deal with that because I've got to work, I don't want to have any negativity around me. I'm one of those people. Previous ex, anytime we had a disagreement, argument, okay, come, let's talk about it. Let's not go to bed angry on it or anything like that. That's what I call femininity. That's what it is for me. But when you're coming at me, and then when I was talking about the masculine traits, now men are confused because when we see someone acting volatile, we think it's time to switch.
You see how, you know how you just said, come at me. That's the thing. A lot of women don't know how to speak to men. They speak at them and rather speaking to them. Yeah,
but Decford said it really nicely that a lot of the professions that we do, so before I became PT, I was an English teacher.
Right.
So again, it's still a profession where you're in control, you know, and you're telling the kids what to do, and you're managing the time, you're deciding when they're going to pack up, so when you're that, you know, it takes a lot for somebody who is in a masculine role, and a lot of the roles that women, you know, do now, a lot of the roles that women get paid for are masculine roles. Then obviously the masculinity is going to come with
it's authority, isn't it?
You know, and you have to, as I said, you have to find space within yourself or have your own practices, whatever it is that you may do, that reminds you that actually I'm not just wholly masculine. There is some femininity.
But also, talk about that, like balancing. Also, although in a workplace, yes, the role might be quite masculine, but that's up to the woman to learn how to still also be in her feminine at work.
Yes.
So, for example, let's say PT, because we all PT, that's what I'm very familiar with. Like, I could, although I'm executing, that's in my masculine. But when I'm like holding space, because like when I'm with my clients, I'm chatting to them, like that's me holding space, and that's me being my feminine. I'm holding space for them. So that's the different ways of doing things like that. We can just slow it down. You know, for example, when I teach Pilates. That's me my feminine. But I'm not saying, like, not everyone can do Pilates, but I'm just saying there are ways to still be in your masculine and feminine when you're working. And also, I want to go back to, you know how he said about going home, leave the masculine at work. Also, if you have a man at home, I think also why some women are still masculine when they get home, I think it's also to do with the man. Because if the man is not holding space, is not being the masculine himself, the woman feels like she's got to be in her masculine to get things done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
on the way here, we were talking about one of the icks, and one of the things I said is a big ick for me is a poor me mentality from a guy. So when you meet someone and straight away they want to tell you their woes and their worries and how life just isn't lifing.
That's how I move everybody.
You know, then it's just kind of like you start rolling your eyes and telling yourself.
But you don't think to yourself, that's the guy that's gonna protect me when shit hits the fan.
I never think like that, but I do think to myself, if shit hits the fan, is he still going to be this poor me guy, or is he actually going to turn around and be like, right, babe, let's sit down, let's try and figure this out together. You know. So sometimes when you see them like not necessarily fully in their masculine, it stops you from being able to.
Is that, I'm playing devil's advocate,
Yeah, go for it.
Is that him being emotional?
Yeah, and sometimes that can be a good thing, right?
But not in that case.
I just think first impressions count.
Because how many times have you heard women saying, "Oh, be vulnerable"?
Yeah, so I think first impressions count. So I always try and be super vulnerable when I meet someone.
Because the men in my family, I've never seen them shown weakness once.
There you go.
what do you think of that?
I think that's all I know, because I've had my dad, not to put my dad's stuff on Jump Street. I remember my dad was one of the first people to have like 2 yards, all of that. And he lost both in a recession in like 88. That's how I'll give him my age away still. And I never saw my dad cry. He just like, listen, we'll bounce back for that. My dad came back with 2 yards again. He ain't got time for that. I've never seen my dad bawl.
Cool, but what do you think?
You can be unhappy or, you know, mourning, things like that, but someone passed away, of course. But like, it shouldn't be your when that's his first protocol. It should be your last protocol.
Yes.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being emotional, but it shouldn't be his first protocol.
And that's my point as well, right there. So even me, when I'm dating, I try not to go in telling my whole life story, because I think it's important for there to be a bit of mystery.
Of course.
I think that it's important for you to gradually learn about someone and gradually connect with someone, rather than I feel like what I did in my 20s a lot, which was just like dive straight in.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, like let's get married basically.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm a bit more like so I guess what I'm saying is, when I see people pouring their whole self out on the first or second date,
Right.
for me that's an immediate ick.
Well, look at your friends. How many times you've got that? Everyone's got that friend that every time every time you phone them, you speak to them, it's another story, it's another this, another drama. Who's got time for that?
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? So, because it's draining, it drains you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I don't feel amped up when I talk to you, we can't chat.
Yeah.
Straight like that. You can have a season, that's different. Be there for people. But when someone's like a proper like negative all the time, no, that can't run in my
And
life.
I think that's really key to femininity as well, is being aware of like how people affect you. So after you've left someone, after you've left an encounter, actually being aware, am I amped? Am I actually like
Feeling.
full of beans?
Yeah.
Ready to go on to my next task? Or am I actually like drained, exhausted?
Nah, that's
You know?
that's not good. That's not good.
Let me ask you this. This one's kind of gone off topic a little bit, but you know how like Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuel, they always say like, oh, I remember Andrew Tate said girls, you can't find your husband in a club. Do you think, he goes something about girls twerking in a club, dressed all sexy. The way he said it, thing is, I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was just like one snippet of it. And it said something about like girls twerking in the club is bad, he basically said. What do you think of girls twerking in the club and dressing all sexy? Do you think it's a bad thing?
No, I like it.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But I ain't wifing them.
Okay,
That's the difference.
right. Okay.
But it's good to look at. I've got eyes. Remember we said that?
Yeah.
Man have eyes, innit?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is like, especially, let's talk about even like marriage. When a man's got a marriage, he wants to feel proud of the woman that he's got in his arm.
Yeah.
He's going to give her his last name. She's twerking in the club and all that kind of thing. We want to keep that semi-sacred, if that makes sense. Now, you got people, now it's different if someone's an actor or someone's dancing or something like a dancer or something, that's different. But when you're talking about like that's in the club, people are like, who's that? You know what I mean? It's already got their back up. So
let me tell you about my opinion. So, so it's obviously interesting to see. So, you won't wife that, fair enough, whatever. But
now, but it depends on level. You just said sexy, but there's levels to it. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying like twerking in the club.
No, not for me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So,
And I think for most,
But I'm not mad at it.
yeah.
and that's the thing. And I think for a lot of high value men, they wouldn't be mad at it, but they're looking at you as an extension of themselves. So it's even high value men, first and foremost, they don't go out to the club very often. If they do, they go to the VIP section, they buy their one bottle of Moe, they pour one for their friend, Cheers. I'm trying to be like you. Okay, yeah, so I'm Ghanaian. So in my culture, typically, twerking would not be, it would be frowned upon. Even dressing like skimpy and walking around the streets of Ghana would be frowned upon. So there are certain, you know, cultural implications that make it such that that's just something you wouldn't do.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Cool. What about dressing sexy?
Levels.
Yeah, because there's demure.
Because when I go to Canary Wharf,
Mm.
the women dress sexy and then in their office attire.
Right.
And they look sexy in that, and it's fitted and everything like that. And you
Yeah.
can see there. What are you talking about? Like mini skirts and stuff like that.
What's okay? How about you talk about your standards? Like, what is a no, like to the boundaries sort of thing?
Yeah, I would say for me, mini skirts.
Okay. So wait, so if your woman wanted to wear a mini skirt when she's out with you,
No, but I've never had that.
you wouldn't allow her to wear a mini skirt.
No, but I've never had that. But there's levels to mini skirt. Are we talking about here? Are we talking about like? You know what I'm saying?
Like here.
Well, you have to kind of raise it like that certain time. But I think I'm trying to think.
But why though?
Because we don't want other men objectifying our women.
Men are very territorial, which I really,
straight.
Yeah, which
Let's get that
I really
straight.
like. I personally really like that.
No,
Now,
alpha men are.
I think that, okay, alpha men, all right, that's a better way of saying it. But I think that I'm very like, always about kind of rewriting the narrative, kind of challenging the narrative, you know, pushing things. However, as much as I'm like that, I do feel like, so just to contextualize, I converted to Islam 4 years ago. So being like modestly dressed is really important to me.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of how being modestly dressed can be actually more sexy than having all your skin out.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And there's this girl online, and she just wore an abaya. She literally just wore, it looks like a dressing gown. Yeah. And she tied it up and she put her hijab on, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So I think it's really sexy and really feminine to actually leave it something to the imagination.
You took the words right out of my mouth at the end. I was going to jump in and say the same thing. I was going to say that when I see like some of the office women, even if you see someone in the gym, you see someone who's wearing next to nothing, and you see someone, you can see they've got a good physique, but they're dressed. That would do more for me than the one that looks like she's going carnival.
Which is what I said before. Being sexy is not about wearing skinny outfits. Yeah, being sexy is a being.
No, men need to let them build it up in their head.
Yeah,
what it is, because like you said, that's exactly how we are. Let's build up in our imagination, and then when the revealing comes, then that's gonna be a next thing.
Yeah, that's another.
But when we see all of it already, it's like, okay, I kind of know what to expect.
That as well. But also another thing I said to always say, sexy is also I'll say this. Sexy is confidence. When you're confident in yourself, you love yourself, and you're confident in your body, that is sexy. The femininity is also sexy. And just like you said, the way you hold yourself, your aura, everything about you just being feminine is sexy. Doesn't necessarily be skimpy. Wearing like less clothes or whatever, like lingerie or whatever, that it is sexy, but that's more like,
that's for your man.
Erotic sort of thing like that. It's a different type of sexy. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's in the room.
Okay, that's a whole other thing like that. What do you think of alpha? Talk to me about alpha male, alpha female.
Right, so.
Do you think they can work together? Alpha male, alpha female together? No. Okay, why not?
You need the level playing field, and it has to consist of both. Even, I'm not an expert, but even I was talking to my client. When you look, gay couples even have that as well. Yes. They have someone, and certain more submissive. Before, let me just go left with it. People hate the word submissive because submissive is very vague. Submissive could mean the raw penis is clean, Your Highness, or it could mean, someone has to lead. When someone leads, someone has to be underneath. When I say underneath, it doesn't mean that you're not valued. You've got a very important. Both of you are important. But the thing is, someone at the end of the day has to lead. But we respect all your opinions. It doesn't mean you're someone that you can just walk over and dictate. That's not what it is.
This is exactly what I was saying to my friend the other day. He's saying to me, I'm a man. And I said to him, you're only a man when you don't feel any way to upset a woman. That's what makes you a man. But if you're sitting down, knowing that you've got to tell your woman something, and you're kind of shuffling your feet about it, and you don't know how to go about it, you're not a man.
There you go. But then, that's all right. And when it comes to the alpha male as a man, it's different for different people. Like I could sit here and say, it wouldn't bother me what anybody would think of me. Because at the end of the day, you guys are the consumer. So if you thought I was a beta and you thought I was alpha, I'm cool with it. At the end of the day, I know I'm just out here trying to do the best that I can and be the better version of myself. But it is very subjective because if you dated a beta male and then you come across me, you're going to be like, rah, this guy's alpha. But if you just dated Mike Tyson and then you started dating me, you're going to be like, rah, this guy's a bit soft still because you dated a guy that's like very... Secondly, our interpretation of alpha male is flawed. So we all got a different version. Like if you tell people, so what is an alpha male? Everyone will say completely different things. I think when most people, the generic one is, okay, his presence, when he walks in a room, things like that. But there's many things that make up an alpha. You have what's called like an outright alpha. And that's a guy that's got many traits, but most guys have traits of an alpha. And that's the difference. But as far as men and women to be together, not. Because men want peace when they come home. The only person that would go out with an alpha woman is someone that struggles to get women in the first place. And most of those guys tends to be beta males. So,
or someone who enjoys being dominated.
Yeah, because beta males are peas. How many times I've done a session with a client for their first session, like when you walk the floor, and then you book them in, everything like that, and after they say, you tell them the price, then I just have to ask the wife. I get like disgusted when I hear that. You know what I mean? What do you mean by ask wife? But I'm just like, all right, bro, cool. I see you in it. Just let man know in it. So, but that's how I kind of am. It's like you dealing with you're the one going to work. I understand you can run it by her, but it's not like a case of please, pretty please, I'd like to do it. Nah, I can't rate that. So,
but maybe what if he's basically just respecting the wife?
You could say, you could say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm doing training, XYZ, I'm paying. At the end of the day, it's helping his health. He knows what he can afford and can't afford. You know what I mean? So
we're gonna talk about this more, but I think that a lot of the time women, you like to use that phrase, out of respect for me, no, you just want to know. There's actually no more to it than that. And if you're honest about yourself about that, then you won't need your husband to come and say to you, babe, of our joint account of the money that I'm bringing home, I'm gonna go and spend something on a PC.
It's different if I don't know how the spending is going, and I'm said to her, listen, I'm going to do personal training. You said, well, hold on a minute, just to let you know, things have got, electricity has gone up, this has gone up, and right now I don't think that's different. And that's why I talk about the submissive. It doesn't mean that you can't bring anything to the table, because even like when I was living with my ex, she did most of the finances because she's good at admin. So I used to make more money. But then she was just good at setting things aside, keeping things in folders, all these kind of things. Oh yeah, by the way, this is due. Because I'm crap when it comes to remembering when to pay stuff. So I'm like, yeah, cool. So because she was in charge, if something was expensive or I thought, I want that jacket or whatever case, she goes, you know what, just right now, XYZ. I'll be like, cool. You run it by her. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like, because I think when people think of submissive, they think of colour purple or something like that and slapping her in the back of the head. And that's not what we're talking about. You know what I mean?
So I was just thinking, to be honest, I don't really, not that go on.
Just one of the things that I do think is submissive though, that not enough women in today's society do, is if your man says to you, babe, we can't do that now. You just say, okay. We don't get enough of that. In relationships.
Right.
In relationships, typically, anything that the man brings to the woman that as a no, the woman will now start making noise. But the woman will now start telling her friends. Everybody will be like, nah, that's out of order. Nah, you got to speak to him. Nah, you got to speak to him. Do you know what? I'll speak to Tony because Tony chats to him. So I'll ask Tony to put in a good word. Like, there's no... sometimes all of that is not necessary. Sometimes it's just as simple as your man said no, it's no.
But something like that would make me cut. Like I get a sprinkle of that. Don't get me wrong, you can have a moment, but once I see that's your character and that's how you gone. Like there's no, because the thing is, as I said, I feel I've got good role models, and when I'm talking about role models, I'm talking about the men, the Kevin Samuels type, because that's how they are. They're sharp, they're serious in the face. You know what I mean? I'm more easygoing than them, and then the women are very submissive, feminine, but they still give it back. But there's a way. It's still respectable. I've never seen my grandparents argue. I've seen them bicker. Bicker is different because we've normalized arguing in general, and arguing is not normal.
Taking it to this extreme level, like walking away from each other, slapping people in faces. Like, it's not deep.
No, because and that's the thing. It's like I've never seen a slanging match between my parents. They might have a bickering match or something like that, and then they're good after an hour. You know what I mean? But it's never that serious where they're like, oh, we need to talk. It never gets that deep. So when I hear people, oh yeah, but couples arguing is normal. It's not. It's toxic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you pretend situation there, but you talk about it. But the thing is if I go to talk and then you come at me, it's gonna raise my blood pressure up, and now we've got a situation. You know what I mean?
It's, you know how you just said, people say, it's normal, it's not normal. So this is more extreme, actually. So this talking about going years ago, one of my exes. So in an argument, next thing now, so me, this is me being vulnerable now. He basically like slapped me.
Hey.
Yeah, slapped me and I fell on the floor. And as he did that, his mum walked in. And then I was crying, and his mum was just like, the fuck sort of thing. And his mum came over to me and picked me up. And you know what she said to me? She goes to me, it's normal for the man and, she said the wife and the husband to fight. Ooh. And I was like, do you think I'm stupid or something? In my head.
Sorry to cut, was his parents together?
No.
Right.
But she said it to me like, I'm in my head I'm thinking, do you think I'm stupid or something to say something like that to me? She put me on her lap. This is when I was like a lot younger. She's like, yeah, it's okay, stop crying, it's normal, da 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 da. And then she was like having go at her son, like, you get out, da 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 da. I'm just like, I can't believe she said that to me.
Where was he from?
He's Nigerian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that is a very African thing. Yeah, I even saw something on it on social media about it.
And she used to call me trouble.
Yeah. So there was this woman saying to her mum, "Oh, my man cheated on me," da da da, and then the mum was like, "What did you do for the man to cheat on you?" That was the question straight away. So and I know that people don't like that because people don't like to think that it's something like basically they don't like to hold themselves to account for why the relationship broke down. Right, or for why somebody went out and cheated. They like it to be like, oh, it's that person's fault. They shouldn't have cheated. But as you were saying earlier about toxicity, it always takes two to tango. You can't have one without the other. So sometimes when relationships don't go as per plan, we should sit down and think, what could I have done differently, rather than sitting down and being like, oh, he messed this up. He did this and he did that, and I'm a victim. Sometimes you actually have to sit down and think, okay, hold on. You've now been dating for 10 years. You've done how many different relationships? Like, when is it going to be actually, I need to work on my anger?
Yeah.
Go on.
I was going to say, I bet you, bar a few, I bet if you ask most exes what they think about you, they ain't got nothing good to say. Yeah. But me now, I won't even talk about that stuff because I was with them. I respect them enough to know that I was with them for a certain amount of time. I put up with them. So I put up with them, so I also have to hold accountability. So my thing is, well, I don't like no one talking bad about any of my exes. They can do that to me, I don't business. But I don't do it because I'm like, at one point in time, that was me. You know what I'm saying? They were me. So I would never do that, but they would do that because they're still emotional. Yeah. Or they probably don't feel bad that maybe at that time I let them go. So, but for me, I take accountability and say, no, you know what? It's both. It's always both of you because when in general, you get like the toxic one, what you just said, but generally speaking, it's not about finding perfection. It's about, are you compatible? Because there's someone out there that goes against the grain of everything we've just said in this podcast, and them two would be a perfect match. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And we've got to bear that in mind too. But generally speaking, we're just talking from a general perspective. Yeah.
But I think sometimes you can have compatibility, but because you don't have both parties being honest with themselves, the relationship still doesn't work. Yeah. So I think compatibility is important, but I think that honesty, that level of honesty that, I overreacted in this situation, or I'm really upset now, so maybe I should vacate the premises and come back later. Yeah. Those sorts of, just being like, regulating your emotions.
But I watch how people, like if I'm sorry for something, I say, you know what, my bad, I thought about it, X, Y, Z. Yeah, you can come back. But I've had girls go, sorry. I say, you know what, keep it sorry. Because you're not sorry, you're just saying it just for whatever's sake. And that's not, and it's a go like what you were just saying, like that, I've had to pull people up on that, and I'm like if that's your sorry, you can keep it, you know what I mean? If you're going to do it properly because you actually understand.
It's the ego as well.
Yeah. Because again, it comes down, no one wants to take accountability. Because the moment some people's ego is so high that if you they can't take criticism, they're used to getting gassed. You know what I mean? And it tells me a lot about the type of guys that they went out before. Yeah, 100%. You know what I mean?
And also about going back to toxic relationships, like also for you to be stating that, knowing it's toxic, that's also that comes down to yourself, your self-respect.
Don't get me wrong, we've all been there.
Yeah, of course, 100%. I've been
but
there.
You learn.
Yeah, but you learn, exactly. So like back then, I never knew what self-respect and self-love was until I actually learned about it. Now, like if I know something, basically, I know that for you to be staying in a toxic relationship is because you don't respect yourself enough to be leaving. And that person you're with is a reflection of you. You know? And obviously it's on them. However they are, it's on them. You don't blame on them. That's another thing I don't like.
That's it.
I don't like when women when they go, men are trash. Whenever I hear my friends say that, like, men are not trash.
But they're looking for a man.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Would you, if you went to be an entrepreneur and you want to be rich, would you say, damn, I'm broke? You wouldn't do that, would you? Because you're just what you're going to manifest.
Yeah. That person you were dealing with was a dick. Yeah. But doesn't mean the whole, like, you know, all men are trash. Men are not trash. Accountability,
your choice.
Yeah.
It's your choice that's the problem. You're attracting these no shit men. That's your problem.
And you're back in the victim mode as well. Yeah. That's why you call them trash and like that.
I've been out with many women that I think, like, right, what was I doing? But I don't sit there and plant it on all women. I do think there is a lot of women, hence why we have these conversations. Back and forth, men and women. So obviously there is a problem, but I wouldn't sit there and say, oh, all women are this. Because I'll be disrespecting my family. I come from a female dominant. There's a lot of women in my family. It's like 70-30. So it's like, I respect these women, my mom, my sister, my cousins, all these kind of people. So for me to sit there and say women are trash is disrespect. It's just obvious. It's just common sense. And when I hear people say like that, I say to myself, is your dad present in your life? Because the other thing I wanted to say is that when I'm dating, one of the important questions is, what is your family like? Do you come from a 2-parent household? Or at least long term, they were together for a little while and then thing, because I've dated girls that their mum has a guy in, guy out, guy in, guy out. So they just think guys are just some temporary thing. But I come from to get to death do us part. I come from that. So that's all I know. And it's a big difference. For me, it's just calm. It's just normal. So I would never call women trash. But I find when people do that, it's because they haven't got the other side of who they are. And when guys have mums, they see their mum bringing another guy. So they just think, yeah, women, that's how women are. You know what I mean? So, but I don't think like that, because I rate my family. They're all in relationships, all of them. You know what I mean?
Right. And similar. Yeah. So I grew up. My parents, I don't think were ever in a happy marriage, but they were married for 30 years. Yeah. So it was when I was 25 that my parents divorced, and that had an impact on my personal relationship. I'd say more than on the relationship I had with both my parents. So it had more of an impact on, you know, even my boyfriend at the time I ended up breaking up with, because I started to see that. I guess that roles can sometimes be toxic as well, and I was kind of speaking to you a bit about that earlier. Like, I think it's important if you are both in both your masculine and your feminine, then some roles will be adhered to. You know, like you get home, you're like, babe, I'm tired, need to like run you a bath. Great, right? But other roles I don't feel should be adhered to. So if the bin needs emptying, it shouldn't be, oh yeah, he does that. It should be something that both of us can do, because before I met you, I lived independent of you and I emptied my own bin. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like people get comfortable, and I'm not saying getting comfortable is wrong, but I feel like people get comfortable in roles and then they resent the significant other some 10 years later because they've been doing that one role for 10 years. But
I think both can be right. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because what you just said, that works for some people. Yes. That we both do stuff. Yeah. But for some people, I remember when I was flat hunting in Canary Wharf, and then as soon as I walked in, and I was paying most of it, I was paying all the rent when I was there, and she was like, you know what? I know what I want to do with this space. She was like, you know, I've never come home. She wanted to. It's not like I had to say to her, listen, I need my meals cooked, I need this. She wanted to do it. Yes. So she would ask me, what time you finish in work? So when you come home, your food is ready. I'll get up to go to the fridge to get a drink. She's like, no, I'll get it. But that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to take care of her man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that won't work for everybody. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's cool. Yeah. But as long as you both are in agreement, I prefer the first one that I said. Yeah. I prefer that. But I understand we also live in modern times. Yeah. So it's all good being old-fashioned, but let's be honest, how old-fashioned can you be? Yeah. Because old-fashioned is what, 1950s, 1940s? Because if I was my granddad's old-fashioned, I'd be tipping my hat and saying, that's how he did it back in the day. They tip their hat. Like, who's doing that now? I'm going to tip my new era hat, you know what I mean? So
the woman wouldn't work, for example, as well. Which again, now you could be renting a flat and you need both salaries to actually rent the place.
That's the thing as well. Because most people can't even barely afford to live in London, much less take care of a woman. So, and that's understandable. So even like, you know, we've been old fashioned, there has to be some kind of modern with it as well, because you know, we've got technology and things that they didn't have. So of course there has to be a level, but you have to just use your common sense when something. But for me, when I meet someone and they say they can't cook, and people think, oh my gosh, that's like the worst thing. But at the same time,
we know someone who can't stand a girl can't cook.
Yeah.
No, I've tried it.
Yeah.
I've tried it. It was one of the worst things ever.
Okay.
Because it's like they're anti-kitchen or something. Like, I don't know what it is. So, because you should be able to, like you said, you should be able to want to do things together. But as an adult, it's a life skill. Let's leave it at that.
Yes.
It's a life skill. No one's saying you got to be like Gordon Ramsay or anything.
Yeah.
But you should just
be
know.
able to feed yourself.
Like,
not
if
on boiled
says a lot
chicken.
about yourself, innit?
You know what I'm saying? Not on boiled chicken with no salt and pepper.
No, we ain't doing that. You know what I mean? That's illegal.
All right. So let's wrap it up. Final thoughts, final words that you want to say?
I just wanted to say it's a pleasure to meet you, Decford.
Yeah,
and
likewise.
I actually think that this
Masculinity
podcast
is not so toxic, is it?
No, masculinity.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
definitely not. Masculinity
Maybe we ain't
is
got
not
there yet.
toxic. I think that age is a really good indicator of relationships and you know where you're going with your relationships, because you've obviously had maybe some experience and then you've evolved from it, sort of thing. So I think that's really important. And I think finally is this idea that femininity includes making your woman happy at all costs. I don't agree with that. You know?
We can
And I
save
think
that for another time.
Yeah,
Save
that's
that for
something
another
we should
time.
come back to.
All right, Dec.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, words, whatever you want to say.
Nah, that was a good little chat. Obviously, we didn't get to delve deeper, but that was
Maybe
good.
we can have a time, we can do a part 2.
Say no more. But I think it was good just to like talk about and it's not even just about agreement, but it's good when you have because we're not going to agree on everything. Let's be real, as I said at the start. But it's good to have that kind of, you know, maybe it would be good to have someone who is on the other side as well.
Oh, I know who to bring on.
Yeah.
I absolutely know who to bring on next time.
But I'm sure we got differences, but
Yeah.
we couldn't talk about everything. We didn't get to talk about alpha male and alpha female.
Yeah.
We went left a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, who knows, another time.
Yeah. And for me, my final words is men are not trash. Men are king. We got ladies, treat the men like kings. Obviously, they should be vice versa. They should be treating us as queen as well. But again, just know when to be in your masculine, know when to be in your feminine. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be in your feminine.
Just pick the right guy you want to be feminine with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Always be feminine, but don't put it in anybody's hands.
Yeah. And when with the guy who knows how to hold space for you, and obviously I know this, but another thing is obviously for us women to be truly in a feminine, feel safe, is obviously the man got to do their role. You know, the man got to know how to hold space and actually know how to make us feel seen and heard, and that's it. And lead, and take the lead. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you
so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.